Good evening, friends. Hello, hello. My name is Alina Shaltsova. I am New York immigration attorney, and tonight we're going to have our live discussing the most interesting recent immigration news. We're going to talk about more memos from new Trump's administration, what they mean, some updates for people who have TPS and removal orders, and of course, ICE raids. ICE raids. That's something that you've seen in the news for the past couple of days constantly, right? All these arrests, what's happening, who is being arrested, where people are being arrested, and so on. So please join me. Let me know where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and share the stream. Ask your questions in the comments. So after I'm done with my presentation, after I'm done sharing the updates, I will be able to answer your guys' questions live. I hope everybody is safe and well. And let's start. Well, we're going to start with good news. How about that, right? There are not so many good events happening recently, but this one is actually not bad. USCIS issued a little memo, a little reminder or regulation, however you want to call it, a piece of information that for people with temporary protected status and those who have also travel documents, and if you guys use the travel document to leave the United States and come back, and now you're seeking to adjust status, and if you filed for adjustment of status, but your application was administratively closed because you have order of removal against you, or if you want to file for adjustment of status, but you do have order of removal against you, you should reach out to government lawyer in courts and see if they would agree to close, to reopen and terminate your case. Why this memo is very important? Well, because there was a settlement that expired addressing the same very situation, and everybody was worried as to what's going to happen now when the settlement expired. It was a federal court that ordered government attorneys to generally consider and agree to join motions to reopen and terminate in the situations the way as I described. But now it seems that this practice is going to continue, and it's actually a very good sign, at least for this group of people, right? Those who may benefit from this situation. Now, if you are, the memo first says that if your I-45 was administratively closed because you actually have an order of removal, you can do two things. You can either file a motion to reopen, or you can resubmit your application paying new fee. I prefer resubmitting the applications. I feel like sometimes these motions to reopen go to nowhere, okay? And resubmitting is better. But that's actually good news. Wouldn't you agree? Not everything is super depressing. Now, the bad news is that today, Executive Office of Immigration Review issued a memo basically stating that ICE is back in courtrooms, and ICE will be able to arrest people in immigration courts. So it means, as I predicted in my most recent live, most likely they're going to have adopt the same practice as we had it many years ago. It's when you are ordered removed by the judge, you will be picked up. Or sometimes you will be picked up by ICE if you show up for your master hearing, for example. And then a lawyer will have to rush and file for bond, help you to get out on bond if you're eligible for bond. All right. So it looks like ICE is going to resume the enforcement operations in immigration courts, in the courtrooms, like when you go for the hearing. Now, you may be aware that a lot of those hearings are done online. Of course, if you're appearing online, nobody can arrest you if you're in your home, not in court. But that's why I think we're going to see more and more judges turning into in-person appearances, guys. So just keep it in mind. This memo that I share on my screen, it goes into explaining why this decision is made, because they say that Biden administration stated that if we have ICE in courtrooms, then it deters people from coming to courts to participate in court proceedings. But this memo says that about 500,000 people recently didn't show up for their court proceedings. Now, we know that there is approximate statistics as to how many cases are pending in courts. And maybe a couple of months ago or so, it was nearly 3 million cases. Now, 3 million cases and 500,000 people didn't show up. So what is it in a percentage-wise situation? You can tell me 1/6, right? Something like that. That's a lot. That's definitely a huge number. If that's the truth, if that's how many people didn't show up for the hearings. And I have to tell you that it's better to show up for that hearing and get an order of removal against you than to get an order of removal against you without showing up. Why? Because the consequences for that order by default are drastic. Not only you have the hardest time reopening your case, and very often prosecutors are not going to exercise their discretion to join your motions to reopen the case if you missed your court hearing when you received a notice about it. But also there is a 5-year permanent bar. It's a 5-year permanent bar is that for 5 years afterwards, you will not qualify for any relief, and there is no waiver for it. So I don't really see much sense in not showing up in court for your hearing in court. Some people, of course, they provide incorrect addresses, they move, they don't update the addresses. Guys, now there is a very good system, online system. EOIR website provides you with an opportunity to check your hearing date and location in seconds by punching in your alien number. And this way, you're always going to stay on top of your hearing dates, scheduled hearing dates in court. Also, bad news is that, especially for people from Ukraine, is that U4U stopped operating. No new applications are going to be accepted. And I've heard that people who were in the process of coming to the United States are not going to be able to use their travel authorizations. We're going to see what's going to happen with that. Perhaps there will be some further explanations as to this situation. Another important thing is that for those of you who entered on parole, were issued NTAs at the border, but you were not in the immigration court system, they started calling you to immigration courts. So make sure your address is updated and you check that electronic system. Very important, because people on parole typically would leave as an address of their sponsor, as they call it. But now they don't live with their sponsor anymore, and they don't even know where that sponsor is. But if you didn't update your address and your sponsor receives the notice for your hearing date, it is considered that you were served properly, notified of your hearing date. And if you don't show up, there will be these very drastic consequences. Just please keep this in mind, okay? So now, ICE raids. You've seen footages all over the news, TikTok, YouTube. Oh my goodness, every news source talks about the ICE raids. Quotas, that's what is very upsetting, that apparently ICE received quotas that there should be certain amount of arrests done. Quotas are never a good thing, right? Why? Because if they didn't find thousands of people with criminal record, they're gonna grab somebody else just to meet that quota, just like we see with traffic tickets, right? And we do not want that because enforcement has to be lawful and it has to be humane, it has to be legal. But that's the reality that we're facing right now. And you need to understand that there will be rates at medium to small employers, especially places like restaurants that typically hire immigrants, right? Why those rates are generally are allowed? Well, because ICE can, even though they should give you a 3-day notice, show up and ask for I-9 forms, which is a federal form which verifies an employee's eligibility to accept employment in the United States. So using this as the reason why they enter your business, they may come in. Of course, it's going to be horrible if they come in and if you have a restaurant and you have people eating in the restaurant and there is this whole stress situation. I hope it's not going to come to that, but is it possible? Yes, it's very much possible. ICE may arrest you without a warrant. People constantly say they need a warrant. They do, but they also may do it without a warrant. The law does say that. But certain circumstances must be met. They cannot approach you just because you speak with an accent and they hear that, or you look a certain way. No, that's not a good reason for them to approach you. And in fact, sometimes when there were ICE raids that didn't comply with this minimum threshold for cause to approach you or do the raid, courts later freed people from removal proceedings, and I think they actually even got some compensation. So ICE's actions were nullified, they were wasted. But if they do have a reason to believe that a person who they want to arrest, approach, is in violation of immigration laws in the United States, and it has to be more than just different appearance, then they can actually approach you and they can actually also arrest you. So it all depends on the circumstances, okay? And you have to understand that. I see tons of information online saying you don't have to testify against yourself, you don't have to give your name. That's also true unless they have a warrant signed by the judge. Also, there is a lot of information and difference of opinion. What to do if you are legal and they come to you and they say, listen, show me your papers, right? And you like, no, I'm a citizen. I don't have to carry my papers on me and I'm not going to talk to you. Like, you wasting your time. It's an approach. It's, admirable. You do stand up for your rights. But depending on the circumstances you're in, and that's the truth, they may detain you depending on the circumstances. Most of the times, they're probably not going to be justified, but sometimes they may be justified. And they do have a right to detain you to see what your status is in the system. And guess what? If they were of right, if they did have a reason to detain you, you're going to waste your time, but not showing them proof of you being a citizen. Now, you choose approach that is true in your heart, right? What you want to do, what your beliefs are. As I said, citizens don't owe ICE anything, okay? Absolutely not. But can they give you hard time? Oh, yes, they can. Also remember about this very important aspect of our lives called real ID, right? It's going to be so much easier for ICE to address anybody after this real ID kicks in, the portion of it that requires you to update your driver's license for federal purposes. Because, real ID is an old law. It was partially being implemented, I think, from 2004, 2005. Different parts of it came into effect. And this particular part about updating, the need to update your driver's license in order to be able to take a plane, this one was postponed for like 15 or 17 years, okay? And maybe it will even be postponed again. I do not know. But so far, it's set to start in May, and you need to keep this in mind as well. All right. Many people say, well, do I have to open the door if they knock on my door? Because you see these footages where they just storm in. You don't have to. Absolutely not. Unless they have a judicial warrant. Okay. But what's also very important, and again, I'm going to tell you this again and again. They are allowed not to disclose their true identity, if you will. They can knock on the door and say, we're the police, which is the local enforcement, not ICE. And it's allowed under the rules. You open the door, you say, maybe come in. You say, yeah, hoppa, you give them the permission to come in. You understand? So the best approach is not opening that door for nobody, okay? Nobody. Instruct your children, instruct everybody who lives in your house. You're not opening the door unless the warrant is slipped under your door. You examined it, you saw there is judge, name of the judge. It is for you, for somebody who lives in the house. It's tough. It's not easy because under stress, people make mistakes, right? It's very difficult. Under stress, people make mistakes, and it's not easy to compose yourself in this stressful situation. So that's what it is. These are your rights. I have a lot of funny comments about these rights online right now. Some people call me traitor. I'm not a traitor. These are the rights that are prescribed by the United States Constitution and case law. So remember, the minute you start disregard the Constitution and the case law, thinking that this group of people is not important, their rights are not important, when it's going to be your turn, guess what's going to happen? So we cannot have that. Everybody has rights, due process rights, and everybody has to follow the law. All right? That's how it goes. We can continue, but this is what it is. And I can share my views on this enforcement situation with you openly. Listen, there are people who are perhaps, should be removed because they're gang members, violent ones, and you don't want to live next to somebody like that, whether they have immigration status or they're US citizens, okay? If a US citizen is a known violent criminal, you won't want to live next to them at all, right? Also. But most of the immigrants, I think, the biggest problem in the United States is that there are millions of immigrants in the United States who are productive members of society, resided here for 10, 20, 30 years sometimes, pay taxes, have family ties, but because of the faulty immigration laws, they do not have an opportunity and do not have pathway to citizenship. You may know these people. They may be your neighbors. They may own that little coffee shop that you like to sip your coffee from. They may own that laundry, place, or some construction business that just recently renovated your kitchen. And you won't believe how many of these people are, and some of them are very successful. And it's just not fair what's happening. So it is an opportunity also to perhaps show the other side that this is also wrong, and we cannot treat everybody, every immigrant the same, because not every immigrant is the same. So I leave it at that, and now let me answer some of you guys' questions, okay? Let me see. Here we go. Yes, we have good comments too. They're the best workers. Yes, they are, because most of the immigrants, contrary to this opinion that they use public benefits, they do not use public benefits. They do not qualify for them, and they have to work to feed themselves and their families. And do you know those immigrants? Those people who leave me nasty comments, guys, who's cleaning your houses? Who? Tell me. Who is doing your construction work? Just be honest, With motion to reopen for voluntary departure, am I at risk? You filed a motion to reopen for voluntary departure. Voluntary departure can be done pre-conclusion and post-conclusion of the hearing. So if you would like to leave the United States after final order of removal was issued, requesting VD, I don't think it's going to work. I'll be honest. All right. But if you say self-deportation, it's like you just left on your own, which you're supposed to do after you have a final order of removal. So I may not understand the question. If you give me perhaps a little bit more information, I'll be able to be more helpful. Okay, here. If I have a J1 and not subject to 2-year residency, can I change status to H2B? You can definitely try. But remember, when you're trying to change status from one non-immigrant status to another one, you have to do it before the expiration of your current status. Okay. All right. Somebody is for green card. Is ICE a legal agency? ICE sounds like a fake police force. All right. Listen, ICE. It's very interesting. You have to know that there is a division of ICE that does a lot of good things. And it's not popular to talk about it, but they do fight heavy international crime related to trafficking in children, and it's done by ICE. So just let's not spread hatred towards anyone, because that division does an amazing job. No one else in the world does it. Nobody wants to deal with that, okay? And only the United States International Division of ICE, they do this job. And and I'm going to tell you, because I used to work for criminal defense attorney, and those cases are horrible to deal with, and they're doing it, okay? They're not the fake agency, they're legitimate agency. And most of the ICE officers, they're just people doing their job, all right? The problem is not ICE per se, guys. The problem is the Congress. The problem is that for 40 years, we don't have immigration reform. Elected officials cannot go together and solve the issue that's very much solvable. We do need to have pathway for people who are good immigrants, and we are in need for that for decades, and that's not being done. So that's the biggest issue here, all right? Not any individualized officer, not the police. The issue is that the Congress and elected officials are not doing their job. They see that there is a problem in the society that has to be resolved by passing necessary laws, and they cannot come to any agreement on that. And that's the problem. And that's why we are where we're at right now, in a mess. Hello, is it true that Cuidad Juarez appointments are canceled? If we talk about the consulate, I have not heard of that. The border is sealed, all right? The border is closed. But if we talk about the consulates, I don't believe they're canceled. How long does it take to get I-130 approved right now in the United States? About 9 months, all right? Yes, Alex, I do speak Russian. I think everybody figured it out, judging by my accent. Hi, yo, I'm waiting on a special immigrant juvenile visa. Date has not yet become valid. Can I get deported? No, sweetheart, you should not be getting deported. Those of you who have approved special immigrant juvenile petition, but you just are waiting for the date that you can use to file your adjustment of status, that's you're paroled and you have work permits, all right? Unless you commit some sort of a crime, God forbid, I hope not, you should be absolutely fine, okay? Can I get detained with my work permit? Yes, it's a possibility, depending on the circumstances. A work permit is also not any status that shields you from, per se, deportation. It's just an authorization to accept or suffer employment while you're waiting for your status. So can you be detained? Yes. How likely you are to be detained if you have something pending? Usually not likely, unless something happened. Usually it doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. And I shared these stories already on my during my lives, where people were detained even though they had work permits and asylum pending, but then they were able to get out of the detention because bond was placed for them, and then they were able to pursue their status with the judge and were granted status eventually, and now they're totally fine. Okay. What if my green card approved before 1 year presence have been met? Is it a problem? It's a problem. It's a problem. If the law was not followed and the green card was issued in error, it's a problem for you, because when you're going to file for your citizenship, that will be uncovered. So you have to correct that, all right? That's why I do not recommend, guys, to file for that green card too early after you are granted asylum, right? Hi, Kelvin. I'm on supervised release for the past 7 years, have a final deportation order from 13 years ago, but I have a pending U visa. Will ICE bother me? No criminal record, also have pending I-130. Well, I hope not, but it would be a good idea to file motion for that administrative stay of removal this time around. Previously, I know a lot of you were not filing those motions. You were just coming in to check in with your officer and everything was fine. Well, this time, I would strongly advise you to hire an attorney, prepare the motion, and have that lawyer accompany you when you're going to be going for that check-in. All right, because I hope you're going to have like the check-in later, not right now, because I feel like right now everybody is very on edge. Hi, Andres. Thank you very much for your gift. I-130 pending for mom petition. TPS approved. I'm Cuban Venezuelan I-246 approved. Upcoming appointment with ICE. What should I do? So it seems you should be fine. Guys, if you have TPS and TPS is approved, you should be totally fine. You're just not deportable, okay? If you lose your TPS status, usually because there is a crime involved, then it's a problem. But as long as you have TPS, Andres, you should be fine, okay? Says you're from Cuba. How to deport you? I don't think they do. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Peace 25. Can I show ICE my state ID and my administratively closed case copy and pending asylum receipt if they stop me? Also, is it safe to travel domestically? Right now, I mean, is it safe to travel domestically right now? Anytime you are in international airport where there are CBP officers, you may be randomly inspected, even though, again, they may have a probable cause, they may not. But just because there are officers present, you increase your risk of this CBP encounter. Now, it seems you're already in the system. Your case is administratively closed and you have asylum pending. So what's the worst can happen to you? You've been here for more than 2 years, it seems, right? The worst thing that can happen to you is that your administratively closed case is going to be restarted, all right? So I think you'll be all right, to be honest, okay? You'll be absolutely fine. Just please don't travel somewhere where you can find yourself beyond the United States border. For example, some people go to this Niagara Falls and accidentally cross into Canada. Please be aware of that and just don't go there, all right? Just don't go there, not right now. You don't need it right now. This trouble. So many people get placed in removal proceedings and detained because of that. I cannot describe to you how many. So please just don't go there. Well, guys, thank you very much for your hearts and sharing this stream. Hi, Feroz. I have a silent case and I have attended interview for the second time. Since the second time interview, the status of my asylum case is decision pending. Therefore, am I in trouble or will I be deported? Feroz, no, you're not in trouble right now. The decision pending is fine. Can you be deported? Maybe, but for that to happen, you have to be placed in removal proceedings and the judge has to deny your asylum claim, okay? But you can't, most of the people who are in the United States cannot be deported day one unless they already have an order of removal against them, which is final, okay? There is such a thing, and even with that thing, it's called administrative removal, where you committed an aggravated felony and you're placed in a very special removal proceedings, not the what we call 240 under INA 240 removal proceedings, administrative removal proceedings. They're very quick, but even those proceedings take 3 weeks. Okay. So most of the people who've been here for more than 2 years will be okay, because you will be placed, if you've never been, to a regular removal proceedings and will be given an opportunity to defend yourself. Okay. That's what you need to prepare. You need to have a plan. If they come after me, how will I be defending myself? Who is going to be making decisions on my behalf if I am in detention? Those are important questions. I know people don't like doing it. Like, I also do not like plan for bad things, right? Like this will thing or trust. I don't want to do that. But it's the right thing to do, because you do not want to find yourself in a situation where you get arrested or picked up and nobody in the family knows how to help you, where the money is, what to do with you, who's going to be signing your papers. It's going to be a mess. Just keep this in mind, right? It's not that you are a negative person and pessimistic person, but it's good to prepare. Is it safe to travel domestically with a foreign passport? It has been safe so far, and but for the past 2 days, I'm not sure. After this past 2 days, I'm not sure if it's still safe. Okay, why? Because if there are certain instructions to pay attention to specific people with foreign passports, you can get into this situation with a CBP encounter. And if they find out that you don't have status or anything pending, yes, they may detain you and place you in removal proceedings. So just stay away from travel for now. You see that everybody's kind of hyped up, and it's gonna take some time to get you out of the detention. You don't want to be there. All right, let me see if we have more questions on YouTube. Hi, Manish. What about VAWA renewals and EED card? I have a renewal this summer. You'll be fine. You should be absolutely fine. Just stay away from regular culprits. Domestic violence, traffic violations, some fights in a bar, things like that. You should be okay, okay? If you have VAWA pending, you should be fine. Unless you have an order of removal against you. There are some VAWA pending cases, but you do have an order of removal against you, then you have to plan up. Hi, Maria. Case administratively closed by immigration in 2014 and U visa filed in 2022. What is going to happen here? So far, we don't have specific guidelines as to what the government is going to do with people who have U visa pending. New government, new administration, because we know what old administration was doing. They would allow you to have your visa, U visa decided. They would give you this time. But the new administration, I do not know. Why? I do not know. Because the first time around, they were against giving you the time to go through this process. Unfortunately, the U visa process is very, very slow. It takes 7 years, right, to get the decision. And that's a big problem. Why? Because the court, if you're going to be placed in removal proceedings, may say, well, listen, it may take 7 to 10 years for you to get that U visa decision. It's too long for us to wait. And that's a big issue. I do not know what's going to happen. So far, again, no specific guidelines on that. But as soon as we receive anything, if we do, I'm going to let you know. I prefer that we don't, because if we don't, it means the old regulations are in place. Thank you very much, guys, for the gift. Thank you very much. Can asylum seeker with pending case get real ID? Can asylum seeker with pending case get real ID? You do have a work permit, right? So when you get that work permit, I think you're going to have the work permit limited to the amount of time that you are work authorization is valid for, right? So asylum seeker, and why am I thinking? It's because different DMVs, even though it should be uniform application, different DMVs sometimes give you different answers on that. All right. In my view, if you have authorized stay in the United States and you have a work permit, you should be able to have that ID valid for you to use for federal purposes, because work permit is a federally issued document, right? But what's going to happen now? I'll be honest, I just do not know. Why? Because as explained, this temporary status that is given to you, this period of authorized stay that you are given when you're waiting for your asylum, can be easily taken away from you. Government may approach you and say, you know what, rather than giving you more time for you to wait for this affirmative asylum interview, we're going to place you in court proceedings, which happens sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but it may happen. All right, so knowing that, I would recommend you to try to limit the possibility of your encounter with a CBP to a minimum, okay? And if you were planning on obtaining real ID to travel domestically, just don't travel. Not until the policies are clear and the madness is going to stop, all right? Not until the quotas are going to be, rescinded, because if they operate under quotas, guys, they will be making those arrests. They have to. Just keep it in mind. Hi, T visa case here, but my receipt number, it's invalid on USCIS page. Of course, if you have a T visa, T is a Tom, U visa, VAWA, asylum, very often, and it depends on the USCIS mood, but for T visa for sure, when you're trying to check the status of your case, it's not going to show you anything because all those filings are confidential. And in fact, USCIS published a little memo explaining how to check on the status of your case if it's confidential like that. All right. So you will have to contact them directly, and you will have to make sure that you verify your identity when you do that. Usually it's done by your attorney. They may ask you for extra fees for that because it's not a regular check-in on the website. You have to contact a hotline, and you have to do it in writing, and you have to attach all the receipts and all the proofs. It's actually like a sizable amount of work that the lawyer has to do just to send them one inquiry, okay? I have a U visa approved, but have a DWI case going on. Will I be in danger of deportation? Most likely, unfortunately, yes. Why? Because it's DWI. Because there is a proposal that anybody who's convicted of DUI, DWI be deportable, right? It's a proposal. It's not the law yet. But the way things are going, you have to be mindful of that. Hire yourself a good criminal defense attorney trying to somehow beat or reduce these charges, okay? I have a conditional green card extended for 48 months, waiting I-751. Can I travel abroad? Yes, you can. You are totally fine. My Egyptian fiance was granted work permit for Belgium. Is it better to petition from Belgium or Egypt? Oh, you mean to apply for US visa from Belgium or Egypt? I really do not know, guys. I don't know. The thing is this, you need to know that if you previously tried to go for a visa using US consulate in Egypt, and now you decided to go to Belgium hoping for a different result, it's not going to be different. Why? Because the minute Belgium says that something was done in Egypt, they're going to request the file and the case is going to go into administrative processing, okay? So it depends on the circumstances, I would say. Hi, Jason, do I still have to go for an interview for my permanent resident card if I have a conditional one? Oh, sometimes, yeah. If USCIS is going to call you for the interview, thank you very much, Martin. You're going to go for that interview, guys. You cannot miss the interview because that's 100% denial. No show equals denial, okay? But not necessarily that they're going to call you. Not necessarily that they're going to call you. It depends on what they think about you, okay? What happens if I get pulled over and I have an approved I-601A and they still detain me? They will place you in removal proceedings. If you have I-601A approved and been here for 10 years, perhaps you may qualify for cancellation of removal in court, right? How safe it is to travel with I-131? It has been pretty safe as long as you maintain status based on which you received that I-131. It's not canceled or revoked, and you didn't commit any crimes, all right? Then you should be allowed back in. What about traveling with TPS? Yes, the same thing. So travel authorization, right? Under TPS, you should be all right. I cross border and my asylum case is pending in court. Work permit, social security. The question got cut off. What's going to happen? I guess the question is, hopefully nothing bad is going to happen. If you've been here for more than 2 years, you will be allowed to go through this removal proceedings, okay? But remember that if you cross the border recently, there are different bars to asylum that may be applied to you. Like why you didn't ask for asylum in the country that you crossed on your way to the United States, and so on and so forth. So hire a good attorney. I know nobody wants to spend money on lawyers. Trust me, I totally understand. But if you do have plans of staying in the United States and it's not for you just, let me try. If it works, it works. If not, it's not really important. Then you have to work with a good lawyer, all right? Semi-good lawyer, all right? How about that? Anybody who understands what they're doing. At least it's better. It's better than if you go by yourself, okay? By yourself is no starter. The court's going to yell at you. They do not like per se people because then their job is harder and they lose patience. And unfortunately, there is zero funding at this time from federal government for any legal aid in connection with immigration cases. Everything was stopped by Trump. All right, you probably heard about that. So it's either non-for-profits that do not use federal money, or it's going to be a private attorney that you have to have, okay? Lots of cases can be helped. Not every single one. Nobody can win every single one. But you do need to know the laws. You need to know also the practices. And most importantly, the circuit case law in a federal circuit where your court is, because the result of your asylum case may be different in Florida compared to New York, just because the case law is different. Okay, it's crazy. It's truly crazy. All right. I applied for my I-45 based on approved asylum. It's been 14 months. Do you know how long it's taking? Everybody's case is different. I received approvals in 4 months for such cases recently, but maybe you're from a different country. My client was from Ukraine. You may be from a different country where United States feels like they have to do extensive background checks, perhaps, and then that will delay the case, okay? Hi, my I-360 is approved and asylum is terminated. Is it okay? I think you should be all right, okay? I-360 approval usually comes with deferred action and work permit. So if you have that, you are okay, unless it's revoked. If it's going to be revoked, then you're not okay. You're open for deportation, but hopefully this is not the case. What if I have I-45 pending? A pending case doesn't protect yourself 100% from being placed in removal proceedings, but gives you a chance of getting yourself out of the removal proceedings in front of the judge, okay, with the judge. So, hi Jay, marry a citizen, problem fixed. Not for everybody. There are cases when even if you marry a US citizen, your problem is not going to be fixed, okay? All right, let me see. Do we have questions on YouTube? I'm legal since day one. I have a pending I-45 based on I-360 broadcasters. My PD is August 21. I have a valid advance parole. Wait. Is it safe to travel with it? Also, do you expect visa bulletin move on EB4? I don't expect visa bulletin to advance much, but yes, you should be absolutely fine traveling, okay? If I have a removal order for 10 years but no criminal background, should I be worried? If you have a removal order, guys, and no criminal background, you still may be targeted. You will be targeted at some point for deportations. All right? Why? Because under the law, you have to be removed. And Trump's people, it seems they're not stopping, not at least at this time. And they said that they're going to start with people with criminal record, and then they're going to move on to people with orders of removal. It's going to take them some time to get to you. So see how you can address that order of removal. Can you file a stay of removal? Can you file for adjustment of status? Some people can. If they have certain orders of removal, they're called order of exclusion. Maybe you can file for a U visa, maybe something else, all right? But have some sort of a plan. That I think that's the best advice. All right. Hi, Kids Heart, pending asylum for 5 years, approved time on 30. I was out of status for 45 days before filed for asylum. I have to do consular processing. If I get approved for AP, will I be okay to go to my visa interview? All right, so asylum for 5, pending asylum for 5 years, approved time on 30. I was out of status for 45 days. For 45 days, okay. 45 days is not enough to accumulate unlawful presence bar. It has to be at least 180 days. Will you have to do consular processing? If I-130 is not by your spouse or your son or daughter who are 21, then probably, right? And will I be okay at my visa interview to re-enter? Well, out of status for 45 days may not be the only issue that you may have. You really have to talk to your lawyer if other grounds of inadmissibility may be applied. Fraud, claim of U.S. citizenship, alien smuggling, that's a big one right now. Every consulate is trying to pin it on everybody justifiably and unjustifiably. What else? I have something else. It depends on your circumstances, you know? Hi, Vadim. Any news on work permits? Reapply in November and it's showing 30 months to wait. My goodness. What is your category? We just got a work permit approved in 30 days. I was surprised based on asylum pending, but it shouldn't be taking 30 months, okay? Shouldn't be taking 30 months. Hi, Don. If someone is at the border right now, did he still have the chance to enter the United States? Not right now. Nope. They have all kind of different bars. They will not allow you to enter the United States unless you have a visa or parole. Okay. What is the waiting time to get a citizenship interview after applying? Currently about 7 to 9 months, less than a year, but that may change. All right. That very well may change. All right. Do I still have to go for the yes? We discussed that. Let me take some recent questions from TikTok. Thank you guys very much for your hearts and for sharing the stream. I apologize if I will not be able to answer all your questions. Can someone with parole be removed? Yes, they stated that. Why? Because they can take your parole away first and then put you in removal proceedings. Hi, I came on B1, B2 visa and I checked on I-94 and there is no date given. Bam. Talk to your lawyer, see if the record has to be corrected. If there is no record of you coming in, there is no I-94, it has to be corrected. It's not a big deal. The lawyer is going to contact CBP and they will correct the record. I entered with parole about a year and a half ago, and I just sent my U visa application. Would I be removed? I hope not. I do not know. Why don't I know? Because you've been here for less than 2 years. You said you've been on a parole. The government stated that they can revoke the parole. Now, how bad is your visa damage? I hope that, and it's like if you do have a strong U visa case, they shouldn't be doing it. They shouldn't be trying to deport you expeditiously, okay? And if you have a strong U visa case, and you're placed in regular removal proceedings, the judge also is going to take this into consideration. Now, this only can be discussed if they revoke your parole. So if your parole is not revoked, you'll be all right, okay? You should be okay. I do fingerprints for TPS on November 1st until not get anything. That's too early, guys. Just in November, I mean, sometimes it takes 8 to 9 months to make a decision on TPS application. 2 years conditional-based green card on marriage without interview. Will I get interviewed? You may be. Yes, they may still call you for the interview. Thank you very much, Daddy Cliff, for the rose. Hi, I came as a B1, B2. Yep. Can I leave voluntarily with my country passport? Of course. Anybody can leave the United States. The United States does not have an exit border as some countries do. Some countries, they don't allow you to leave. It's like messed up situation. You want to leave, they say no, because they find some kind of a violation and you get stuck in between. In between, it's like you're not in that country and you're not allowed to leave that country. I know countries like that. But the United States is not one of those countries. You're free to buy a ticket and go to a country that will accept you. Okay? You can't go to a country that requires a visa for citizens of your home country. And if you don't have that visa, of course, without the visa, you won't be able to board the plane. But yes, you can leave if you want to. But before you make this decision, talk to a lawyer. See if you have a chance, right, to stay. Some people are very scared right now, guys. I meet people who get frustrated, scared, and they're like, oh, I'm going to just leave. I don't care. And then they regret the decision. And then they find out that something was available for them and they just didn't use this opportunity. So don't make decisions like this without truly considering all of your options. Hi, Martin. Thank you very much for your gifts. Her paperwork is in process. If immigration stops her, will she get deported? Okay, guys. If somebody gets stopped by ICE, it doesn't mean that they will be immediately deported. In most cases, ICE has to place you in removal proceedings and give you an opportunity to defend yourself. Right? Most cases. If you have an order of removal against you, you also have an opportunity to stop the physical removal by filing for administrative stay removal, perhaps motions to reopen and for stay removal with courts. And the worst situation that can happen, if you're placed in something called reinstatement of removal proceedings, when you already had an order of removal against you and you re-enter the United States illegally, all right? That I find is one of the toughest situations to deal with because there is only one relief you can file for, which is withholding of removal. Another bad situation if you have an aggravated felony and you don't qualify for any waivers and readjustment or adjustment of status. That's a tough situation to deal with. Those are crimes related to usually controlled substances, violence of some sort. Interestingly enough, if your crime is related to theft or fraud, and it also is an aggravated felony, very often you may qualify for a waiver. It's only one situation when with aggravated felony you may qualify for a waiver if the crime is crime of theft of some sort of fraud. Okay. So that being said, you have to have a plan. Nobody, even if you're detained, doesn't mean that you're going to be deported and shipped right away. You have rights, due process rights, rights to appear in front of a judge to defend yourself. Okay. Even if you're on expedited removal proceedings because you've been here for less than 2 years, you have a right to request asylum. Okay, withholding or removal asylum. So just keep that in mind. Thank you, Tara. It's tough. I mean, listen, it's not easy. It's very stressful right now, but maybe you know what I'm gonna do. And lots of lawyers already did it. AILA, Association of Immigration Lawyers in the United States, made these cards for people like know your rights. And honestly, you can just print this piece of paper. You can find it online. Print this piece of paper and have it with you so that when you're stressed out, you can read it and remind yourself as to what you need to do. Because when you're stressed out, no matter what I tell you right now, you will not be able to follow it. It's all going to go down the drain. Okay. I know it. Trust me. It took me many years to learn how to relax myself when there is a stressful situation, opposed to have a different reaction so that I can help myself and my clients. Okay. What is it? Almost 20 years of practice it takes to react to when there is this aggressiveness from law enforcement or the courts. And instead of, falling and forgetting your name, to push back. It takes practice. Of course, lawyers have this practice. You probably don't. Why would you? You didn't have, you've never been in this situation. For that reason, you have to know yourself. How can you help yourself in a stressful situation? I find it to have a little card on me, right? If you have a little card, you say, okay, something's happening. What do? I don't remember anything. And you can, okay, that's what I do. I don't say anything. I don't have to, give them my name, my address, my status. All right. And then you make a decision what you want to do under the circumstances. It's the best way if you're allowed to call your attorney, right? You say, I'm not signing. One thing I'm going to tell you for sure, do not sign anything without lawyer reviewing your papers. You're not signing it. Why? Because very often ICE offers you agreement to self-deport yourself. And if you sign it, you're going to be deported, okay? My friend has DACA. She has advanced parole and is going to Guatemala. Is she safe to return? Well, right now I would say yes. What's going to happen tomorrow? I truly do not know. Every day I open news just like you, and there is something else, right? A new memo, a new protocol, new ICE raid. But right now she should be fine. And honestly, I hope that Trump is not going to go after DACA people, because remember that Meet the Press interview? He did say that he's in favor of giving status to DACA people, DACA beneficiaries, dreamers. So I hope he's going to be true to his word. I'm here for 4 months. Can I stay till 6 months as I'm on B1, B2 visa and I don't get info on I-94? I generally would never recommend anybody on B1, B2 visa to stay for the full amount of time. Why? Because if you do, as a rule, in 99% of the situations, when you're trying to enter back, CBP is going to ask you, you've been here for 6 months and you didn't work? And there it's going to start. They're going to comb through your social media, through your devices. They will suspect you of working in the United States if you remain in the United States for such a long time. Not all the time, but very often. So if I were somebody with a B1, B2 visa, I would not be staying here for the 6 months. What did you tell them at the border when you entered? How long are you going to be staying here? 6 months? Keep that in mind. My mom came here on a visitor visa, so now can I apply for change of status? I'm a US citizen. Somebody who entered the United States legally and they have US citizen son or daughter, meaning the person is 21 years old, can adjust status as long as they do not do it within the first 90 days of the entry. Because if they do it within the first 90 days of the entry, USCIS may accuse them of fraud at entry. But if they do it afterwards, they should be able to adjust their status. All right. Hi, Lily. Is it okay to travel internationally with a conditional green card? Yes, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Hi, God favored me. Is there a way to apply for work permit renewal if you have an order in absentia since February 2024 and also with an asylum pending? I just discovered last month that my lawyer had never filed for MOT, motion to reopen, maybe? Not sure. If you have an order of removal against you, and now you say you filed for asylum, and asylum pending, and order of removal, how could it be? USCIS has not discovered yet then that you have an order of removal. Usually they're pretty quick. And if you have an order of removal, they say you do not belong in our system. You have to file with EOIR. I'm not sure what's happening there. But if you reopen your case and your asylum is going to be pending again in front of the judge and your clock reaches 150 days or 180 days, 150 is when you can file and 180 when you're going to get approval, then I think you would get the work permit, right? If it's based on asylum, right? If you were receiving your work permits based on order of supervision, then it's different, okay? Approved I-130, married to U.S. citizen, I-245 grandfathered. Is it safe to do prosecutorial discretion order of removal? Yeah, you can try. They don't agree to prosecutorial discretion anymore. But can you try? You absolutely can. It doesn't really hurt, right? If you're adjustable. But you said that you have a order of removal against you. What will be the plan if it doesn't work? What will be the plan? So, and what are you hoping for if it does work? You would terminate your proceedings and adjust status? I mean, that's a good reason. Also, what kind of order of removal was issued? Was it by default? Was it something else? You know, I would say consult with an attorney and see. It depends on the jurisdiction because some prosecutors are still agreeing to PD and some not. And it depends on the totality of your circumstances. Okay. I would say that's what I would advise you. Because I don't know you. I don't know your case. I only read 4 lines, right? So based on those 4 lines, I'm trying to give you the best advice possible. But remember, guys, the best advice is when your lawyer sits down, looks at your entire file, and makes a decision based on your goals, your fears, and you understand the risks. Because there is always a risk if you have an order of removal that they will try to enforce it. Okay? How likely it is, it depends on many different things. Can H-2B apply for a green card or asylum in the United States? H-2B status by itself doesn't allow you to file for green card straight, but if you find an employer who is willing to sponsor you, sure. However, H-2B has limitations, and because of that, limitations in time, and because you have to maintain lawful non-immigrant status until you can file for adjustment of status based on employment, sometimes, often, it's not possible currently because the priority dates for most work-related visas are not current, okay? Don't forget to follow me, because if you forget to follow me next time, we won't see each other. That's how internet works. It's a one-time kind of encounter. Don't forget to subscribe and follow so we can discuss many interesting immigration questions again, let me see. My I-130 went from 1 week to 19 months. Is there anything I can do? There is nothing you can do about this. Those processing times that you receive in your online USCIS account are so deceiving. You can see it's only 1 week left. It's only 1 day left, right? Until the adjudication. And you're so happy. You open it up the next day and it's back to 19 months. Don't believe it. It doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. Most I-130s are adjudicated within less than a year. Okay? So, unless you're from Yemen, if your fiance is from Yemen, it's going to take a long time. I do not know why. Hi, Elvis. If I-360 is approved and green card still pending, is that person with status? You're an authorized stay, right? Because your I-360 is approved, you most likely have parole or deferred action. So here is the thing, guys. If you have something pending, which has a great chance of being approved, and you don't have criminal conviction, if ICE encounters you, they find you, and they see that you will be able to resolve your issue with the judge anyway, most of the times they're not going to do anything about you. Why? Because it's not worth it. You're going to be wasting their resources. Unless something happened and they're like really upset, something happened there. Like they really decided to exercise their discretion to the opposite, not being nice, but being not nice. ICE is not nice. I had a thing like this once. I was opening my video with this saying, ICE is not nice. Well, they don't have to be nice, I guess. Hi, Natia. Hello. Is it true that in immigrants are less than 2 years will be deported even if their asylum case is pending with the immigration court? Not necessarily. What they said is that they have a right to take you out of the regular removal proceedings and place you into expedited removal proceedings. That's what they said. They said it. They said it. So I read it that yes, even if you have asylum pending, even though some lawyers say no, if you have asylum pending, they shouldn't be taking you out of the removal proceedings. But that's not what the memo said. The memo said that if you are for less than 2 years in the United States, they have a discretion to take you out of the removal proceedings and place you in expedited removal proceedings. And I think, without more, they're going to be reading the law, the directives the way I read it. Hopefully, it's not going to be the case. You also have to understand it's all very fresh. We are right now, it is January 28th. It's been 8 days, 7.5 of the madness. Lots of these memos that were flying and continue to fly are very broad, very unclear. It takes time to settle the action, the enforcement. So while it is a concern, it's not necessarily something that, first of all, you can do anything about right now, right? If you are in the United States for less than 2 years, there is nothing you can do to show that you've been here for more than 2 years. It's just not possible. So no need to worry about that. But what you can do is to know your rights, have a plan, minimize your encounter with CBP, ICE as much as possible. It means that this time you're not traveling. You are, it would be nice if you could work from home, but not everybody can do that, right? But just keep this in mind, all right? Not traveling, do not drive like crazy so that you can be stopped. Interestingly, I saw a video, and I'm not sure if it was true or not, but I saw a video where New York City police was asking a person for their immigration status. I do not know if you saw that video as well on TikTok, but that was kind of strange because it means that if it's true, and again, I'm not going to say that it is 100% true because those videos sometimes can be misleading, but it means that the local police started checking persons' papers as well, which is very strange because New York City is a sanctuary city, and while they can honor detainers on case-by-case basis, I haven't heard any news that they've gotten to full cooperation with ICE yet. But if you have any information about that, if you saw that video, it was in the subway, I think, let me know, share, so our community will be better informed as to what's truly happening in the streets, okay? Let's see if we have more questions, and we have a lot. And I will do my best, guys, to answer them. Highlander with asylum status. Is it wise for one to apply for refugee travel document even though they have advanced parole for another? Definitely. If you qualify for refugee travel document, you have to apply for it. Refugee travel document replaces your passport. Okay, that's what it's for. Hi, God favor me. I moved back to New York and I went to USCIS on November 24th, in November 2024 in Newark office to ask for my receipt number to check the status of the asylum application. And it said application is pending. All right, so pending application is better than none, right? All right, let me see. We have so many questions today. Let me see. Can someone with credible fear of persecution with no crime be deported? In theory, yes. You may have that fear, but if you cannot articulate it, if you cannot explain how it's connected to protected ground, or if the officer finds that there are bars to your asylum, yes, you may still not qualify for asylum and be deported. It's not only criminal conviction that disqualifies you from asylum. You'll be surprised. You've heard that Trump's administration designated certain gangs to be terrorist organizations, right? Guess what? Now, if you ever been extorted by these terrorist organizations, had to pay rent to them, you didn't want to do this. They forced you. That may disqualify you from asylum, right? Other things, accusations of criminal conduct. Again, bars, travel bans, as we call them. If you traveled through a different country, didn't file for asylum there, and now you ask for asylum in the United States. So there are other things that may disqualify you for asylum. Very, very important. When do you get work permit after applying for U visa? I don't know, maybe in a year or two. There is really no standard time. Everybody's case is different. Everybody's case is different. I have asylum pending, TPS approved, entered B2 visa. Can I adjust to H1B? Can you change to H1B or EB5, EB3 visa? If you have TPS approved and you're going to get the TPS travel document, then you will for sure be able to, and use it and come back. You for sure will be able to, if you otherwise qualify, to get EB5 or EB3 green card in the United States, provided, of course, that Trump's administration is not going to interfere with your plans, right? For example, they're going to take TPS away, and then your plan of legalizing yourself is going to not work. Why? Because there are processing times that you need to be within and with your status for this plan to work. It takes about 3 years for EB3 green card, unless you're from some countries where it takes even longer. And all the 3 years, you better hope the TPS is going to continue and you're going to be in status after you travel abroad and have this special entry on TPS travel document. Hi, New York Live. Hello, Ilana. How are you? My question is, I was come to United States through border. I came to the United States through border, and after that, I got Social Security work and work permit. My asylum case was denied, and my attorney appealed it Am I still legal? Well, you're not truly legal, but you can stay in the United States because your order of removal is not final when it is on appeal, and you can use that work permit. Okay, so at least you have a good lawyer who filed an appeal on time, and that's a good thing. I know it sucks when your asylum gets denied, but listen, sometimes you have to go through these appeals and you have to fight for them. Not every judge does the right thing. Not every judge applies the law correctly. All right. So hopefully you're going to win your appeal. Okay. If we have more questions on YouTube. Hi, Habib. Are there Afghans who have recently arrived legally, including refugees? Hold on. Refugees who were legally processed in the third country and have not yet applied for a green card, also at risk of deportations? I don't think so. If you're otherwise eligible to apply for a green card, I guess you have asylum status then, right? No, you shouldn't be deported. For somebody with asylum status to be deported, they first have to take your status away, and it's not easy. Absent fraud, it's really not easy to take someone's asylum status away. All right. All right. Hi, Bertuba. I don't think the video is real because you can see the officer himself answering the question. All right, so I do not know. It's like, you know what happens at the times when everything is so fresh and everybody is so stressed out, and there is a lot of hype around this ICE rates. There is a lot of videos, like videos that are not true, misunderstandings. Like, look what happened at this Chicago school, where a representative of the school went out and gave this huge interview how they didn't allow ICE in schools, and it wasn't even ICE. Okay, but that's why, like, you have to take a pause and you have to verify the news prior to especially acting on it or sharing it, because there are still people who share the news about Chicago school saying, oh, look, ICE tried to enter the school. It wasn't ICE, it was Secret Service. I don't know if it's better or worse, but it was not ICE. Okay. You probably know what I'm talking about if you're interested in this topic of ICE rates, right? B1, B2 visa, can I change it to student visa here? Yes. Somebody who has legal status still in the United States, who didn't lapse their status, may file for extension of their non-immigrant status or change of that status to a different one. It's not easy, but it's possible. Okay. Why it's not easy? Because you have to comply with F1 visa requirements, and you have to prove to USCIS that you do not have immigrant intent. Okay. When do you get work permit after applying? Okay, I answered that. If a green card holder has a charge that was expunged, can they travel? That's a great question. Yes, make sure to have paperwork, however, about those charges being dismissed and expunged. Why? Because CBP has information about all the people with criminal convictions, and they may have this red flag in the system. When you're trying to enter the United States back, most likely you're going to be sent to the secondary inspection. But if you have proof that your criminal case was resolved in your favor, everything was dismissed and expunged, you should be fine. Now, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to follow and subscribe so that we can see each other again. I hope I answered at least some of your questions and shared at least some of the information that can be a little bit helpful, okay? Of course, there are way too many questions than me today, and there are so many questions to answer about your rights and how to behave in this or that situation. Remember, try to help yourself just by writing down the most important steps, memorizing the most important numbers. When you are detained or arrested, All your possessions have been taken away, and you have to call somebody using your memory. All right? It's tough. It's not easy. It's very stressful. Remain calm. It's very important. And if you are in immigration detention, you'll be in immigration detention, make a call to your family member, let them know where you're at, because they're going to be crazy stressed out. Okay? And if you have a plan and you're prepared, you're going to get through it. It's not something that is pleasant, and it's very stressful. And frankly speaking, most of the immigrants in the United States should not be in this situation at all, right? But also, the truth is that a lot of you will be able to get out of the detention and out of the removal proceedings. If you don't have criminal record, and even if you have one, but it's a small one, you still will be able to do that. You may qualify for asylum, withholding of removal, cancellation of removal based on VAWA for some people, adjustment of status sometimes, okay? Relief under Convention Against Torture. Maybe you can reapply for adjustment of status again and clean your criminal record. Sometimes there is such a thing that lawyers may use to, we call it readjustment of status, in case you are deportable but not inadmissible. So there are ways to help somebody in removal proceedings this way. So it is what it is. Don't let yourself to be too stressed out about this. Don't be scared, be prepared. All right? And I'm going to be back here hopefully this Friday night, maybe sooner, depending on the news and what needs to be addressed. And stay safe, and I hope to see you guys soon.